in Oregon. Some of you might know how I met Tyler Crabtree because you were watching when it happened. Maybe not the initial meeting, but yeah. The way that it started was with him and his friend being assholes. So I got out and I made sure that I took a screenshot of the license plate. Or got out and made sure that I read off the license plate anyway, because I wasn't sure how well my camera was doing. So Tyler Crabtree and his friend were both a couple of fucked up little asswipe douchebags. Being condescending fuckheads, screaming and shouting and threatening and intimidating and just being all out little assholes. I'm not sure if any of you were ever young, but most of you were assholes to somebody at his age. No, I'm not making excuses for him to be an asshole. Tyler Crabtree knows that I record. He's fine with it. Unlike the police and the sheriff's department, Tyler Crabtree didn't try to threaten, harass, or intimidate me after the fact. I can absolutely respect that. He recognized that he made a mistake. What do I speak up so loudly about on my channel? A lot of things. But the most important, you're gonna fuck up. You're absolutely going to. It doesn't matter if your name is Sean Schwartz, Adam Kalb, John Apolius, Wendell McPhee, or even Tyler Crabtree. It doesn't matter. We're all still people, ain't we? We're all pathetic losers, isn't that right? Isn't that what pushed at us? If you can't magic up everything that a woman wants at a moment's notice, then we're all horrible. Some of y'all have good women in your lives. Most of you don't. But you've never been tested. By that, what I mean is that there are real trials and tribulations in this world. And you don't get past that by ignoring it. You don't get past your own inner demons by pretending that they're everybody else's. I know what I've done wrong in my life. I also know what I've done out of necessity. And here's the thing, Tyler Crabtree was well aware that what he did that day was not out of necessity. It was out of anger and frustration and chemicals. But he admitted to it. He apologized. He also let me know a little bit about his interaction with the officer over that. No, the officer didn't follow protocol. But we got to meet because he was burying his backside to me along with his friend. I was making sure that I recorded in case they got violent or started threatening again. I've seen Tyler 4 times since that happened. 5 times since that happened, actually. I've recorded almost every one of them. Oh my god, my fucking back is killing me. suppose I should go ask Tanner if, shit, I hate to ask the youngin to try fixing my things for nothing. I'm sure there's something in my vehicle I can trade for it. With that Tyler Crabtree kid, alright? I don't barely know the guy. When I first met him, he was a complete and total douchebag, and so was his friend. But you know what? Even if somebody's addicted to drugs, I can respect the fact that they admit that they fucked up and apologize for it. And he absolutely did apologize for it. I know a lot of people that are loudmouth punks, and most of them will not apologize for anything. They think they're, 10 foot tall and bulletproof? Yeah. The lifestyle that Tyler lives and the things that he chose to share, he knew I recorded. He knew it was going to be recorded. He also knew he could say something. There's a lot of people that ask me if I'm still recording, and I try to turn off the device, but it just ain't working. That's one of the problems people don't understand about me having broken equipment. Shit. Holy fuck, that hurt. Anyway, Tyler spoke about having epilepsy and some about medication. He shared a little bit of his personal experience with drugs. He admitted that drugs had a lot to do with the way he and I met. Those drugs had a lot to do with him being a complete and total douchebag. Now, a lot of people say, well, drugs are no excuse. If you're on drugs and you rape somebody, you still rape somebody. And I do agree with that. And we are talking about heinous crimes here. Well, if it wasn't for the sheer quantity of people that are douchebags to me, a lot of these things could be just blown off and thought nothing of it. If I could just afford to keep on moving on every time somebody has a problem with me. That's right, that's your solution for every fucking problem. Is for me to spend all of my time to move every time there's a fucking problem. Well, this is a fucking problem. Every time I have to move, I have to start over. And I have to beg people to give a shit. For God's sake, just pretend to give a shit. I will fucking pay you to look at evidence, for fucking Christ's sake. Until all my money's gone, because I know a bunch of people who are addicted to drugs. Now, a lot of these people do admit to being on drugs, being addicted to drugs, and a lot of them have heard my channel by now. Because a lot of them are angry with me because they're on my channel. Now, I don't agree with what Tyler Crabtree did, but I do believe that he has done what he can to make some sort of reparations for his damage. And yes, he did cause damage. He did contribute to a greater whole. I don't have the ability to actually hate people. A lot of you do. I have to pretend. That's right, I have to pretend to be one of my predators for you to listen. I have to pretend to be a hateful person. But no, it's not hate, it's fucking fear. I've been cut off from my friends and loved ones for far too long. And a lot of these people I understand here, since I don't know anybody here, since the people that I do know, they're, for the most part, drug addicts who aren't going to do anything. They're not going to show up. They're not going to keep their word. So, as far as Tyler Crabtree goes, he's already a better friend than 99% of the friends I've had in my life. Because he fucking fessed up to his fucking stupid. When you fess up to your stupid, that does make the world a better place. Unfortunately, we have people whose lives suck so badly that they look for any flaw or imperfection in anybody to try to fucking cast stones. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Wasn't that in a book somewhere? I think I read that in a book somewhere. Golly gee, I wish I could remember the name of that book. One thing you might notice is that I do practice my facial features, my facial movements. That's one of the ways that I learned to make friends growing up, is to be funny. And that's one of the things that people do notice about me, is that I am funny, but you guys don't really hear all that stuff. That happens usually indoors when there's connection issues because I'm inside of a giant cement fucking building. Now for Tyler Crabtree, he did something that made me respect Mariah Johnson as well, even though she later had a lot of alcohol-related issues. I've got a lot of her personal information, by the way. She sent it to me, and it has been kept safe, just because of the nature of who she is and where she's at and how at risk she really is. Whether I agree with her politics or not, the fact is she's still a human being, and although she did fucked up shit to me over a argument she had with Mandy Singer, she apologized for what she did. And she at least made some steps, some efforts to remedy it. Tyler Crabtree, he didn't make it the day that he said he was gonna. He admitted that it was a drug-related issue. He also admitted that it was giving him issues with his seizures because he's got epilepsy. When I needed manual labor and he wasn't able to show up, yeah, that bugged the shit out of me. But epilepsy ain't something to fuck around with. And when you've had an epileptic episode, some of you might go, oh, well, it was probably because he was doing drugs. That probably had a lot to do with it. That doesn't change the fact that putting him to work doing manual labor immediately after that could result in another seizure or even death. When you've had a seizure, it is very similar to having a mental breakdown. There's just too fucking much going on, and your head's fuzzy for a couple of days afterwards. The way to explain a fuzzy head, that means your thought processes, by the way, not having a bunch of fuzz on top. Some of you have seen people have a seizure. That was one of the things that Natalie did. She helped rescue one of her friends who had a seizure. I've gotten to help more than one person, but all for different reasons. Everybody's story is unique and different. For me, I can accept somebody who's an addict or a junkie, but it depends on who they are and what they do. By that, I mean their content of character. We all fuck up, every one of us. Are you one of the people who's going to look for one flaw in somebody and just pound at it? Or hear a rumor and pound at that because you haven't been able to find any flaws in them yet? A lot of y'all want to be angry at me because I speak up. But then look at what you do. When I repeat what the cops said about many people, the first thing they do is start calling me a liar. You're a liar. You're slandering my name. Are you sure? I'm just repeating what the cops told me. If you don't agree with what the cops had to say, if you don't agree with the slander that the cops were allowed to prevent me from having any of my rights by putting into paper, if those things are slander, if those things are untrue, and Miss Peaches wants to claim I slandered her and the things the cops said, that's right, the cops. The biggest bullies in all of this have been the cops. These services we're supposed to go to for help because they want you to come back month after month after month for therapy, not to do anything about the harm against you and your person. Somehow I'm too mentally ill for anybody to listen to me. That's the problem. Autism is a communication disability. But our communication disability comes from your assumptions of people who are different. You don't listen to us. You don't allow us to do the things that you allow the other kids to do. You don't allow us free reign of the neighborhood on our bikes. You try to keep us grounded as long as possible because you don't want people to see your embarrassment anywhere but at school. You're not proud of your autistic child. You don't care how intelligent he is. Many of you are like that with your imperfect kids. Meanwhile, you're imperfect parents. Where do you get off judging the kids that you forced into this world against their will? Where do you get off telling them how to think and feel, especially when it's not a way that you think and feel? I believe in taking responsibility for one's actions. At the same time, I don't believe that we have any sort of close to fair or equal treatment. This is cruel and unusual punishment. Denying a man the right to show evidence in court, denying him the right to turn in his predators, refusing to investigate any crimes against him. This is some pretty standard fucked up bullshit. We get to see how the cops will show up en masse with a bunch of people for stuff that doesn't require that many assholes. And I mean assholes, I don't mean good people. These people are assholes, and they will fucking commit felonies to protect their coworkers, but we have to go to them to turn in their coworkers. That allows our predators knowledge of what we're doing, trying to turn them in, and allows them to coordinate with their friends within the department to prevent you from having your rights as a human being. Now, how many people here have spoken about that, but they don't come together with me to go turn that shit in, do they? No, they tell me their stories as excuses not to try. Well, your stories are pretty fucking valid, but only if you use your voice. Your experiences are valid. When the police say you can't turn something in for someone else, first of all, that's an outright lie. But second of all, you're not turning it in for them. You made the report. When you make a police report, that is your police report. When somebody else is being victimized and you are a witness to this, then you need to go in with the victim. Because if you don't go in with the victim, they're not going to bother with putting those two pieces of information together. They're going to pretend that they're separate incidents. And if you make the victim go in alone, they're going to pretend that the male, homeless, and disabled victim made it up. I gotta trust drug addicts for help because the cops won't do their jobs. You get to see that doing what the cops wanted has done nothing but get me victimized and cost me money. Because none of you want to follow the protocols for an at-risk and disabled adult. They can blow me off and treat me like I'm retarded by using the term mentally ill. 100% of the time, I will need a friend or family member. I get that you don't want the fucking responsibility, but there are people within the government that are supposed to have that responsibility, and they're not going to take on that responsibility unless you fucking speak up and get the process goddamn started. Tyler Crabtree started off his life on my channel by bearing his asshole at all of us. The first things he did was drive by and scream at me. Sorry, they weren't driving by, they were parked and they were getting out of their vehicle. And they were yelling at me. Telling me to get out of the parking lot. Let me tell you something. There's lots of people that I tried to run off down on Pearl Street. Not just myself. A lot of hobos did. Them underage girls. Primarily. Those underage boys didn't show up unless them underage girls were there. At least not until they got strung out on the same drugs. Then they'd show up on their own. I've never been allowed to defend myself against any predator in my life. Never been allowed. That's because of the term mentally ill. It makes me an easy target because everyone knows they can just call me mentally ill and they automatically win. It's against the law to harm people who are mentally ill in this way. But then again, you've automatically discredited them by calling them mentally ill. That's why we need a friend or family. Many of you have friend or family who care and have a fucking long-term, permanent fucking address of your own that you don't have to depend on people with a history of being predators towards you and others. Holding that over your head. My friends, no matter what, looked the other way and said nothing to the public or to the police about any of the shit that they were telling me. They literally never tried. They claimed that they did, but they did not try. They made no effort, and they have no evidence that they made the efforts that they claim. Someone calling himself BC13 typed Hey ZD. Whatever that means. My name is Sean David Schwartz. Anyway, Tyler Crabtree was fucked up on drugs, yelling at me, threatening me, with his friend there. I just wanted him to get the hell away from me and leave me the hell alone. If I do that to somebody, what do? Oh, you're dangerous, I'm calling the police. And I don't even do that shit to people, do I? I don't go out of my way to be a douchebag like that to people. I save that shit for the internet. Someone calling him Cringe in Defense VR typed hi. Alright, you guys are probably from one of them gamer troll groups. I've seen your groups where you get onto Halo or something and you play Halo while talking shit about me. Or others. Yeah, I've checked you pieces of shit out. Maybe you two aren't some of those pieces of shit, but, well, based on your monikers, or your tags, I'd say you probably are. Chances are pretty good that if I click on your faces, it'll say that you're gaming channels. Crimson Defense VR typed I'm not. Hey, Crimson Defense VR. I got a question for you. Do you know anything about mandated reporting? How long does a mandated reporter have to report a crime before they've broken the law? Crimson Defensor VR type IDK, which stands for I don't know. Immediately. They have to call it in immediately. In some states, it's up to 48 hours. In some states, it's up to 24 hours. In most states, it's immediately. They have to turn it in immediately. In a state like Nebraska, literally everyone is a mandated reporter. The reason for mandated reporters is because priests in the 1970s and 80s really liked fucking little boys. But not just priests. We also had people who worked in nursing homes raping old ladies. And then we had the mentally ill. Somebody might listen to their old ass grandma when she says, hey, the staff here are abusing me. Somebody might listen to that kid when he says that priest is abusing him. But you got to be able to collect that evidence and record it. In the 1980s, when the shit was going on, man, them recorders were huge. Mandated reporter, not optional reporter. One of the things they play on, though, is that they literally have to investigate. They have to. They have to initiate the process immediately. If it's a credible claim. If I'm telling them that aliens came down and took my nose and they won't give it back, and that I killed a bunch of people because somebody from the alien spaceship came down and took my nose, well, what are they going to garner from that? All right, he might have killed somebody. He might not have. He definitely still has his nose, so he's obviously not telling the truth about that. Obviously, he thinks that aliens are coming down here and doing stuff. Obviously, every part of it that he said is pretty much verifiable bullshit. But when he says he might have killed a bunch of people, we should probably pay attention to that. Do they? No, they don't give two shits about you. They don't give two shits about me. We're broke folk. You don't stop to recognize that I am the most at-risk person in this country. 96% of those killed by police are males. I'm a male. %51% of those killed by police last year were disabled. I am disabled. They're ignoring both my physical and mental disabilities. The police, the therapists that I'm sent to because they're supposed to be mandated reporters who just want me to go to therapy over and over again. I'm supposed to turn in the crimes immediately. You see how the cops treat me. They talk over me. They know I don't have the resources. They know I can't function, and instead of doing their jobs, they prey on me instead. The problem is that I've never been allowed to actually turn in my predators and have something done because they've been able to blow me off every single time because I've had to go in alone with no actual support. People haven't made the phone calls with me. Most people make phone calls for me, but they don't save any evidence of it. There's no proof that they did such a thing. I just have to take their word for it. Well, you know what? The cops aren't taking my word for it. They're not going to, because Natalie Bollinger tried to frame me for her fucking murder. She wasn't murdered, by the way. It was an assisted suicide, and I am for assisted suicide. I want my life to end because I have no family and have no friends. It's been like that my entire life. People pretend to care about me. Pretend to. When it comes to admitting that they fucked up, they're not going to do that. It's too embarrassing. They care too much about what other people think. At least that's what they tell me. I shouldn't care what other people think. Well, you know what? When people are fucking punching you and hitting you and kicking you and pressing false charges on you and playing fucking victim, your pretty fucking words don't stop that abuse. For over a year before Natalie was killed, her friends made my life a living hell, and my friends didn't give a shit. They just wanted me to bring over money or pot or booze or cigarettes. They wanted to argue with me or talk over me and change the subject every fucking time. The worst ones are the pretty white girls, because they got these delusions in their fucking head about how everybody's treated the way that they are. Are you out of your fucking mind, girlie? Of course you are. I'm thankful for Tyler Crabtree, despite the fact that he did some fucked up shit. And no, I'm not allowing the he was on drugs to be an excuse. It is something, however, that I'm expected to understand, aren't I? I'm supposed to feel bad for all the addicts, right? The gateway drug is trauma. Getting beaten, getting raped, that's trauma. And men aren't allowed to speak up about it. We're told we need to go to the back of the bus. We need to man up. A man who has problems is drama. Meanwhile, when a man has a problem that he's willing to ask for help about, it's usually a real fucking problem. Do you know how long it takes to diagnose schizophrenia? Crimson Defense VR. Six months. That's right. I've been sent to doctors, been court ordered to go to doctors. These are called rubber stamps. When it's doctors that are friends with the police, instead of your private doctor who is familiar with you, and the police that you're trying to turn in get to tell that doctor anything that they want, and the doctor will write it down because you don't have a friend or family member there sticking up for you. Instead, your friends and family members want to fucking argue with you. Hey, you know me. You're allowing predators who don't know me to dictate this. You're allowing predators who are harming me to do it repeatedly because you don't fucking care. These are fucking crimes committed against me, and it's not magically okay just because I have a dick. People want to use the excuse that Robert Farnsworth is mentally ill as an excuse to let him continue to do narcissistic things to people. See, here's the thing about Robert Farnsworth. He's been diagnosed with something called homicidal rage. He's schizophrenic and delusional, narcissistic. Sorry, not homicidal rage, homicidal tendencies. It means that he acts on violent thoughts. A lot of people want to say, oh, mental illness is no excuse for the things that you did, Sean. They don't know what I did or why. The police blow us off. They threaten, harass, and intimidate us. And even if they're nice about it, they're still doing the same thing, blowing us off. We're not American citizens. We're denied our rights as American citizens. We're denied our rights as disabled people. See, when a mentally ill person is being harmed, mandated reporters have to do something about it immediately. None of them did. None of them did. They all blew me off and set me up for another date at a later date. And then they procrastinated and procrastinated to the point that it became felonious. And then they committed more felonies when I tried to turn them in. The places that I had to go to try to turn in officers like Martinez and Loffman wouldn't do their fucking jobs. The places I had to go to so that I have an advocate when I am fucking harassed, harmed, abused. Tyler Crabtree admitted to his fuck up. He told me about his disabilities. Farnsworth's sister told me about his disabilities, but it's buried under days of bullshit and days of me fucking hurrying up waiting on people like Chris. When it comes to hanging out with some girlie that he wants a BJ from, oh, I'd marry her in a heartbeat. Yeah, he's not going to listen to me. He's too busy trying to, well, you know. Anyway, I can't go anywhere. My speedometer doesn't work. I knew that eventually I was going to fucking run out of time if nobody helped me. If everybody just procrastinated. You're all pieces of shit. All of you. 7 years worth of abuse. And instead of listening to my story, people want to turn it into a fucking argument. And you don't understand how frustrating that is. That I need you to fucking listen to understand, not make every goddamn fucking excuse to do nothing. You say, oh, I can't do anything. I'm in the wrong jurisdiction. I'm in a different state. Really? Because my predators were allowed to do everything that I'm asking you to do. From other states, other jurisdictions. They were able to coordinate and work together to make my life a living hell. Whereas you couldn't even take the time to fucking listen.